Seb Dance, Labour MEP for London. The European Court of Justice has ruled in this air pollution case. It says no exceptions. The UK should be expected to meet its obligations. What's your reaction?
I mean, absolutely, there should be no exceptions. This is something that is affecting people right across the country. 29,000 people across the UK die prematurely from poor air quality. And of course, we know there's a range of things that can affect your health, but the air that you breathe, there's absolutely nothing you can do to avoid breathing the air in the areas that you live. And of course, it disproportionately affects poorer people as well. So there's absolutely no excuses for taking action now.
And earlier this year, the government revealed that it didn't expect to have got air pollution under control in London until 2025. These targets were meant to have been met in 2010.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an indictment of where we've got to in terms of meeting those targets, and we cannot in any way afford now to think of air quality, to think about action on air quality as a supplementary issue, as something that's not core to what we need to do now to improve public health. In London, you mentioned London, over 3,000 people die prematurely, and in fact it's nearly 8% of all deaths across the whole of Greater London are directly attributable to poor air. That's an astonishing figure, and of course in some areas like Tower Hamlets it's even higher than it is in some of the wealthier outer boroughs, so it does affect people in inner city areas much more.
Do you see any prospect now, given this court judgment, that London, the UK government, but also the Mayor of London, will start to do something about this and deal with this problem much sooner, much quicker?
Well, I certainly hope so. I mean, if there were any indication needed of the severity, then hopefully this court case will sharpen minds, certainly, and renew focus. I mean, all we can do is hope that the powers that be in the Mayor's office, in the government, take note, because obviously we're going to keep the pressure up, and there's going to be no let up from the Parliament in terms of the pressure that comes from here. But ultimately, those decisions do need to be made at a national and a sub-national level, and so we're appealing now to the government and to the Mayor to take urgent, drastic action.
What kind of measures would you like to see put in place then in London that could perhaps help, if not sort this problem out entirely?
Well, I think we could look at ways of phasing out, for example, some of the diesel fumes that are coming from certainly public transport. I know that there are actions in place, plans in place that have been talked about. What we need now is not to talk about the potential of these plans being put into place, but actually put in times when the bus fleet, for example, will be made emissions free, when taxi drivers, for example, have a greater range of vehicles that they can choose to purchase from. At the moment their choices are very constrained, and so they have to buy vehicles that are more polluting than some of the alternatives out there. So I think there's a range of issues that can be done to bring those emissions down, to do it with quite immediate effect, because ultimately the sooner we act, the sooner we solve some of this problem, but of course the more lives we save.
And given that lives could be saved, people, as you say, dying prematurely because of air pollution, would you expect now London to act in a way where they could get this problem sorted ahead of 2025, as in sooner than 11 years hence?
I certainly hope so. I mean, one of the things that we are looking at, of course, is a new directive on national emissions, and that will look at some of the key gases that are the most severe in terms of public health. And 2025 is a very important milestone, obviously, towards 2030, which is when the EU's much wider climate package will kick in. And I think, yes, we need to move towards binding targets much sooner in order to ensure that action is taken before we get to the stage where, effectively, we could already meet some of the targets that are in place by doing nothing. And I don't think that that's enough. So we do need more stringent targets. We need those targets earlier. And I think 2025 is the very minimum that to which we could aspire to have those targets in place by.